Edward Abbey once said, "It seems to me that the strangeness and wonder of existence are emphasized here, in the desert, by the comparative sparsity of the flora and fauna, life not crowded upon life as in other places, but scattered abroad in spareness and simplicity, with a generous gift of space for each herb and bush and tree, each stem of grass, so that the living organism stands out bold and brave and vivid against the lifeless sand and barren rock." Have you ever wondered about how certain life-dependent tools and resources came to be? Everything we know and use on a daily basis today stems from previous generations. Each generation is involved in the evolution of things to come in the future. For instance, where did we learn to get our food from the trees, the ground, and the animals to our plates? Let's take this question a step further and ask how certain surroundings and landscapes differ. When it comes to the evolution of collecting food and building shelter, do you think the people who occupy the lush jungles and moist land go about finding food, water, and building shelter the same way that the people who occupied bare and dry deserts do? Today we will look at the ancient people who occupied what we now know as Wapaki National Monument. Just to give you a better idea on the landscape and climate of Wapaki, this now government-protected national monument occupies over 35,000 acres in the Coconino County, Arizona. The weather here can range from below freezing with snow in the winter to 50-mile-per-hour winds in the spring to monsoons and 90-degree heat in the summer. Now that you have a better understanding on the location and the climate, we will now take a deeper look into the lives of those who grew to strive in these harsh conditions of the desert. We will follow their tracks through the desert to find food, water, and shelter. We will also take a step back into time and see how art and creativity played a strong role in the survival of the ancient Wapaki people. The people who occupied in and around Wapaki created useful tools, structures, and pottery, which fed, sheltered, and sustained them and continue sustaining the present natives that occupy around Wapaki. But first, who are these people who found Wapaki and claimed it as their home? These people were come to be known as the ancient Pueblo people. These people consisted of the Kohonina, the Kayenta Anasazi, and the Sinagua. These people founded and started to create a life in Wapaki around 500 AD. The resources that the settlers of Wapaki had to work with was less than abundant. The success of their lives depended on the creativity when creating tools, shelter, weapons, and food gathering apparatuses. From natural resources to tools such as sticks tied together to knock prickly pear off cactus, clay to make pottery, rocks carved to sharp points, and mud, sticks, and fibers used to put a roof over their families' heads, the natives of Wapaki were the first in the area to have a lasting impression on future generations. Arguably, one of the most important tools of their time was the weapon. The weapon killed the animals to put food on their plates. It protected them from predators, and it greatly assisted in cutting through tough cactus fibers to assist in building tools and shelters. Weapons were made from animal bones and carved and sharpened rocks. Along with weapons was the farming tools. Some important farming tools that one would create and utilize are rakes, gathering poles, and woven baskets that were made from sticks and plant matter. Once the animal was killed and the fruits and vegetables were picked, they then needed a means to carry their freshly farmed food. The importance of preserving the food was a major concern for the fact that the resources were scarce and the climate of the desert could ruin their supply of food in a very short period of time. Pottery such as bowls and baskets made from woven plant material was used to carry food and water from the source to the village. Water was and will forever be a life-dependent resource. So for the people who occupied the desert of northern Arizona, the hunt for water was one of the most time-consuming and important jobs. The tribes of Wapaki would walk for hours or days to find water. Once the water was found, they would then collect as much as possible in their handmade bowls and walk back to their compounds. The water that took days to gather could potentially only last for a day if it were in the middle of a hot and dry summer. You could imagine that the water collecting treks was an ongoing occurrence. Once the water and food was carefully collected and returned to the pueblo, they were now facing the barrier of keeping it protected from weather and predators. The structures that they built and maintained to keep their gathered food safe was also of great importance. These structures not only kept the food safe, but also kept the family safe and out of the harsh desert elements. In the Hopi language, Wapaki means tall house. The structures and housing that they built were made from mud, clay, and plant matter, which hardened and became a safe and solid structure. The safety of a structure allowed for day-to-day activities to be accomplished and families to be sustained. The people who occupied Wapaki were known for having the largest and most sturdy pueblo of their time. This is apparent due to the fact that we can still, to this day, witness their amazingly powerful structures as they still stand in Wapaki National Monument. What still stands today consists of 3 buildings and 29 structures. Although weathered and hundreds of years old, the craftsmanship and creativity that went into these now ruins is an obvious success. Not only are we able to look back at the development of the pueblo and see apparent skill, but we can also still look back at some of the first weapons and farming tools, and the pottery that have been preserved for the last hundreds of years. If you think about it, everything that we do has evolved in some way or another from these ancient people. It is important in remembering where we came from and how we have evolved. We can give thanks to the native and ancient people who have put in years of hard work and dedication and have given us the basic tools which we need to survive. Through the eyes of the present, we could look into the eyes of the past and appreciate all they have done. Thank you for taking a walk through ancient Wapaki with me.